Alrighty guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at my new improved Huntress build. Now this is a very strong Huntress build. I'm going to be saying Huntress quite a lot in this video, and you're not going to want to know why I'm saying Huntress so many times. Huntress. Right, now if we're going to be looking at the normal Huntress build, she's going to be running something along the sides of Ruin, Barbecue, Whispers, and Nurse's Calling. That is generally the meta build that you'd see a lot of Huntresses running. Now, you might see the odd one running Shadowborn or Pop Goes the Weasel in wake of that, but you can generally count on that being the vast majority of cases. Now, what does the Huntress's special ability do, right? She can pull up a hatchet, which takes 2 seconds to charge. The longer she pulls it back, the further and more straight the hatchet goes, right? It never flies directly straight. It always needs a tiny bit of an arc, or you're going to be hitting survivors in the feet, or they're going to be able to dodge it. She has a projectile damaging based attack in Dead by Daylight. She is the only killer with it, bar the Plague, who needs to power up to have it, and she's also a very commonly picked strong pick in terms of killers in Dead by Daylight. Now, my build is a little off what you would assume being the meta build. I still have Ruin in there, yes, that is correct. Ruin is integratable with Corrupt Intervention based on your skill level. Unfortunately, I am still a decent Huntress, but I do not reach the skill level of some really god-tier one-trick Huntresses as I try and play all killers. This being said, if we're going to be looking at the build, you have Ruin. What does Ruin do? Ruin means if a survivor misses a skill check on a generator or it lands a good, a Jenny takes 80 seconds to do. Every great gives no additional enhancement. Therefore, if it's just about a pop at 80 seconds, it'll go back 4 seconds, which is a lot of time. So it goes back 4 seconds and it stalls for about 1 second. So it can actually help you out a lot. Keep in mind, the 5% regression will also go back by an additional 3%. So it'll go back 8%. Excuse me, if a survivor misses a skill check as opposed to landing a good skill check. They land a great, they get no form of enhancement. It is a very commonly used perk, especially in the red ranks. It is what people refer to as stability. Even though it's a luck dependent perk, it is on a totem somewhere on the map which a survivor can spawn and break in 10 seconds, or it can be up for 5 chance. It is a luck based perk. Sometimes you get really lucky, sometimes you get less lucky. The next perk, you guys are going to be knowing this quite well. I run it on almost all my killers. It is called Pop Goes the Weasel. Pop Goes the Weasel allows me to kick a generator and have it regress 25%. That is huge. If a Jenny is at 80 seconds or 79.9 and I kick it, it goes back 20 seconds. That is a long time for a generator to go back, and it automatically starts regression. It's huge if you just downed a guy who's trying to greed for a Jenny to be completed. You pick him up, you hook him, you kick it, and vice versa. It goes right back. It can be devastating to try and go against. That being said, I run it on a lot of my killers. Keep in mind the Huntress's disadvantages. What is her advantages? She has a throwing axe. She can hit people at a projectile range. What is her disadvantage? She has a lullaby, so people know when she's in the general direction. It no longer pinpoints the direction of the Huntress as of a buff, which is good. You can still understand when she is nearby. People run Modern Abuse on her too to get a little bit closer, but the lullaby still gets a little louder the closer the Huntress gets as well. So if you pay attention to that instead of the heartbeat, you should be fine. Now, another big weakness she has is she's 110% movement speed, right? When she pulls up a hatchet, she slows down by default. Therefore, you might be able to get a lip, might be able to get a corner around her. Her play will be to hide a light while you go in a different direction if you're playing correctly as a survivor. Now, this being said, because she moves at 110% movement speed, you will notice a lot about my build. I have 2 information perks and 2 stall perks. I do not have information on people healing, you're right, through Nurse's Calling. Generally, people assume that a Huntress will have Nurse's Calling based on the fact that every Huntress you go against in the red ranks generally has Nurse's Calling and Barbecue and Chili, so people will be getting in and out of a locker. I currently run neither of those in my build, which is very good. Once they see you have Thrilling Tremor, generally a killer has either Thrill or Barbecue. I highly recommend Thrill over Barbecue. There's only 1 killer in the game, possibly 2 including the Nurse, the other one being the Demogorgon, that I recommend Barbecue over Thrilling Tremor. If we're going to be moving on to Thrilling Tremor, what does it do? When I down a survivor and I pick him up, all generators that do not have a player working on them will seal by the entity's grasp for 16 seconds. They will glow white, and I'll know there's no one on them. Any Jenny that does not glow white will have a player on it or multiple players. I will be able to tell if there are multiple players on the Jenny based on discordance. Discordance is what comes very valuable in this build. Now, I've had a chat with a lot of Huntress mains, and they disagree with running this perk. I have to say, it is such a god tier perk. I'm playing a killer moving at 110% movement speed. Other Huntresses run Whispers to find and look for a survivor. If I'm moving at 110% movement speed, I want to be going from point A to point B. Point A being a survivor to point B being either a generator or another survivor. I want to constantly be in chase, and I want to constantly take advantage of my time. Keep that in mind. I'm moving slow, so I want to make sure that I'm always doing something productive. If I know there are multiple people on a generator, I will go in that direction, and chances of me not seeing any player when there were 2 to 3 players or even 4 players in that direction are slim. It also allows me to know where to go to get maximum pop goes to weasel value. So keep in mind, 2 people working on a gen. I just downed Jeff and a hook Jeff. I can see those 2 people on Discordance and Thrilling Tremor, but then there's another Jenny glowing. So I know there's 2 people on that Jenny, 1 person on that Jenny. I will walk to the closest Jenny, obviously, not chugging a lot. I'll go to the furthest away Jenny. Jenny's on a platform Jenny in the corner of the map that I'm not interested in. I'll let that go. I'll kick that. I'll chase that guy. If I manage to down him, I'll leave him on the ground, and then I'll rotate in towards where the 2 people are currently working if they haven't finished the Jenny, to keep pressure on 3 to 4 players and have no objective work done as well. So it just depends on how well the game goes in my favor. Thrilling Tremor entwines very well on Discordance on a couple of killers. These 3 perks here are god tier on Freddy Krueger. Right? They're good on every killer, don't get me wrong, but I will teach you in a Freddy Krueger video. There is a special magic trick you can do with Freddy to make this work really, really well. If we're going to be taking a look at some of her add-ons, she has a lot of really, really good ones. Generally, you'll be seeing her run either this, or you'll be seeing her run this. Alternatively, you can be seeing her run Exhaustion add-ons as well. Exhaustion does come in wake of being another one over here too. You've got this, and there's a very devastating brown add-on, which no, it's not brown, sorry. It is this one right here, which gives you the hindered effect. People do not know what hindered means. I will explain this to you, alright? Hindered, there will be a ball and chain on your left-hand side of the screen. The ball and chain pretty much means you move 5% slower. So this 110% movement speed killer is still moving at 110, but you're moving at 95. It's not the equivalent of her moving at 115, but it's close to it, right? You're not going to be able to be like lips. You can still fast forward and all that. You're going to need just as much time to get the run up as well. But if you know she has hindered or exhaustion add-ons or both, you can play around that, expecting her to pull up at every jungle gym, which would be good for you if you're running Dead Hard and Iron Will, which I generally run on most of my builds. Therefore, I will wait at the pallet, she will pull up, I will run and twist my camera. It depends on obviously the jungle gym, how close she is behind me. She's always going to want to hit a hatchet because she's afraid of the Dead Hard. Now, that might not go for every Huntress, that just goes for the 90% of the Huntresses that I verse. She's my favorite killer to verse, followed by Leatherface. I think I've got a lot of experience against her and playing as her, even though I'm not one of the best as her. I can acknowledge that I generally know how to outplay her. Infantry Belt's going to allow her to carry 7 hatchets. By default, she carries 5. She also can run a perk called Iron Maiden to allow her to reload from a locker quicker. She also has an add-on down here, which stacks with, there you go. Is that its like, no, it's one back a page. There it is. No, it's not. It is a yellow add-on. Oh god, it was up one. Okay, this is going to allow you to reload from a locker quicker. It is also going to allow you to have Iron Maiden, and you reload almost instantly at a locker, so she has less downtime. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but I feel time management's important on the Huntress. I'm happy to run around with 3 hatchets. Depending if the guy's injured, I'm happy to run around with 2, but I don't need to refill all the time to constantly get 5 hatchets back. It's going to waste time, much like the Clown. I'm happy to run around with 2 Clown bottles, 1 if it's a bad jungle gym. It just depends on my time management as Clown, keeping in mind that you slow down while reloading, but you can portably reload instead of finding a locker like the Huntress has to. If we're going to be looking at MVP maps, I'm still going to say the game. You can hit a lot of crazy hits over the game, don't get me wrong. It is very, very fun to play as when you're playing the Huntress. Alternatively, if we're going to be looking at a map that better benefits the Huntress in her ability and power, I'm going to turn and I'm going to say the Azeroth's Key. Alright, now some people would say maps like Macmillan Estate. I highly doubt the Heart Locket or the Coldwind Farm is a good idea. I think it's horrible because you can be seen over all the jungle gyms. However, on the Azeroth's Resting Place, you know, you can have incredible maps such as Azeroth's Resting Place. You can have the Blood Lodge. You can have so many really good options where there's a lot of cars and you can actually hit over the cars. So yes, the Survivor can see you at all times. However, you can hit almost all the jungle gyms as well. So I would say that is her MVP map of choice. Keep in mind there are about 4 maps I believe you can go to on that map, and you know there's obviously going to be one bad one depending on the jungle gyms, but there's most for the vast majority of times really, really good options for you as Huntress. Do keep in mind, while you are working on a generator, your character is actually standing, okay? The only way to lower your hitbox in Dead by Daylight or make it smaller is hit control. A Jeff getting hit in the far right hand side of his screen is the same as hitting a Feng Min on the far right. Even though there's a height difference by about 1.5 feet, they still have have the same hitbox, and the only way to lower it is crouching. If you crouch and you look down, it doesn't even lower it anymore. Just keep that in mind as well. The Huntress can hit you while on a Jenny, and she'll hit very generous looking hits because she knows the distance of the box or the hitbox. Alrighty guys, that's going to be all for this this video. If you guys enjoyed or learned something about the Huntress, if you want to run my rank 1 recommended build, by all means give it a go. Let me know in the comments down below how it went for you. What would you change? Are you a Huntress main? What kind of perks do you run? What do you think about my build, etc. Alrighty guys, I will be seeing you very, very soon, and I'll be seeing you in the fog. Take care, and don't hesitate to come over to live stream. I do stream DVD 5 days a week, and we are an educational killer main. So pop in, say g'day. Take care guys, and I will see you in the fog.